Hi, welcome to the show. It Takes a Village. This is an initiative through the Village of Rhode Island for foster and adopted families. This show was created as an outreach effort to give information and insights for families who have committed themselves to fostering or adopting children in Rhode Island. Today's show will be about educational advocates in all over Rhode Island. My name is Rachel Briggs. I am the host, and I also am a kinship adopted mother who has utilized some of these resources we'll talk about today. On the show today, we have our guest. First, we have Jessica Buono from the ARC. And we have Amy Rosa, manager of Washington Park Community Library. It's great to have you here.
Thanks
Thank
for
you
having
so
me.
much.
Yes.
So let's start with Jessica. Can you tell us what the ARC is?
Sure. The ARC Rhode Island is a adult and special education advocacy agency. And what we do is we basically step in sort of right before people need to hire a lawyer, specifically if they're dealing with school districts. School districts can not be so nice to give away everything that the parents and these children deserve. So before the parents have to spend thousands and thousands of dollars on hiring a lawyer, we step in, much cheaper, to kind of let them know the laws and let them know exactly what these children will be needing. Educational advocates are a board certified position, so we are all board certified advocates, and we know the law, and usually when we show up, the school districts are much nicer to the parents.
Yes.
Yeah.
And a lot of our families, kinship adopted or traditional adopted families, are overwhelmed.
Yes. Yes.
So this is a great resource to have. If I was a parent and I came to the ARC, what's like the steps, the process I would go through?
So first you would either visit our website or give us a call, and then we would do an intake with you. So that would be when we would get our hands on the child's IEP or 504 plan, go through it very thoroughly, and sit down with you for about an hour to maybe even 2 hours and go through absolutely everything you've dealt with the school district, with any evaluations that child may have. And then from there, we can either sort of bolster your confidence as a parent to walk into a meeting with just you and the school district, or we can then go with you, kind of whatever you choose from there. And then, we usually after we're there for the first 1 or 2 meetings, it's fine and things are good, and we check in after. But yeah, that's kind of the process of it.
Oh, that's great. So the intake, where is the ARC located?
So our office is actually located, the ARC is a national organization, and we have a few over Rhode Island, but where I work out of is North Kingstown.
Okay.
So we're right in the Meadows, and so we can either do the intake over Zoom, or you can come in, and now that everything's opening back up again, people have been more and more coming in for face-to-face meetings.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Now, have you ever met out in the community? Or it would have to be?
So I think maybe some of our advocates can go to houses if there's no possibility of transportation there, we can do that, or we can get you set up on Zoom. Yeah.
Oh, that's great, because I asked because a lot of our families are grandparents.
Right.
And some families don't have transportation.
Yes.
In true Rhode Island form, North Kingston is far.
Right.
Right?
Even me here coming today, I'm like, it's the other side of the country.
Right.
I live in Wickford.
So I can just imagine families going, well, how am I going to get to North Kingston?
Absolutely.
So that's great to know that you can meet in the community or just come to the house.
Yes, absolutely. And it can be over the phone if it has to be, whatever it takes to get these families the help they need, we're willing to do.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
In terms of meeting with the schools, you said you go with the family first couple of meetings.
Yep.
And then how is that process? Do the families have to inform the school that they're bringing an advocate with them?
Yes. Typically, you let the schools no, because with the IEP meeting, it's sort of a legal meeting. The IEP is a legally binding document, so it's a legal meeting, and everybody sort of has to be listed. You could surprise them if you wanted to, but for all fairness, and there's some situations where we like to say, okay, maybe don't tell them we're coming, or just like if you don't, it's really up to the parent if they want to let them know.
Right.
But usually they do, and a lot of times that IEP can't be changed without the whole team there. So even if they hear we're coming, it's not like they're picking up the phone and saying, oh, like never mind, like we'll change it. It's really like a sit down and decide that right there to get that document changed.
Yeah, and I think in the spirit of teamwork,
exactly,
it's nice to let the school know
exactly
I'm bringing someone that's
right.
part of the team,
right?
And they're there to help and support the child at the end of the day.
That's what it's all about. And that's we always want to a good thing about an advocate as well is that parents are usually very emotionally charged, and the advocate kind of comes from this third party and is very neutral and really neutralizes everybody on the team and says, okay, like what can we do here to make this the best possible and get this child learning what they need to learn.
Right. That's great.
Yeah.
And you said adult advocacy as well.
We do adult advocacy as well, yep. So we kind of step in. There's a transition phase that when kids transition out of the school district, usually around 21, to the adult world, as we call it. And sometimes people are just like, they're like, okay, go. And they're, they've spent 21 years sort of, being looked over and have all these resources. And sometimes the adult world, the resources are a little harder to find. So we help with finding those resources and getting, again, people the help that they need at those older ages.
Oh, that's great. Because, a lot of our families, in addition to being grandparents or not having the ability to travel, they have children that stay with them.
Right.
Into adulthood.
Yeah.
A lot of our children have special needs.
Yep.
And developmental delays. So parents are having adult students.
Right.
So to have that as a resource, that's great.
Yes.
And can that family, if I'm assigned an advocate when my child is in elementary school, can that advocate follow me through?
Typically, yes. If that advocate stays on staff, you'll have the same advocate and all throughout. And then once the adult advocacy takes over, that's a different person because it's two different things. The education versus the adult stuff. Usually, people aren't up to date on both of them. They are just one or the other. But yeah, we can take over, and really, it's the transition that is the most important part. And then usually, once the transition happens and everything's in place, then, we check in and we take a step back and all of that. So,
because I know with my children and my experience, once I was given an advocate or a counselor or anyone, I wanted to keep them.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And they get to know your family
Of course.
get to know the child.
Right.
And then, you can offer support that is individualized to that family.
Exactly.
So that's great.
Yeah, it's a big benefit. Yep, absolutely.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Now you did say there is a cost associated with.
Yes. So the initial cost is $150 for the intake. The initial intake, and then I believe it is an hourly cost after that, and then that kind of depends on what you need and where you need us to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now, sometimes our family, when they have children come live with them, they don't really know what the child needs.
Right.
And the child can go to school and still they don't know what the child needs. Is there like a consultation they could call and explain the situation, and then someone could say, I think you should meet with a advocate?
Right. So where we come in is most of the time parents will give us a call after they're feeling something just isn't right, not with their child. That usually, a lot of times their child does have a diagnosis already or needs one, and they're feeling that the school districts just are kind of fighting back at them and saying, oh, maybe they don't need it. Because a lot of times if you walk in without a diagnosis, but you say, oh, something's wrong, okay, well, you need an evaluation, and there's kind of steps to that process. So with us, we can definitely recommend providers to get evaluations, and kind of lead people in the right direction to then get what they need, a 504 plan, an IEP, or what have you.
Do you know if this type of advocacy is covered through insurance, or are there grants or any means of getting financial support for it?
So we are not covered by insurance, but any and all donations that we receive go towards an educational fund that does help out families that cannot afford our services.
Oh, that's great.
Yes.
And then that fund, is that something they could find on the website
Yes.
about that fund and
Yep.
apply for that?
Exactly.
Oh, and it's like need-based.
It is need-based, yep, and that's just kind of what we direct all of our donations towards. So anything, I know 401k's just happened on April 1st, and all the money that we made from that goes towards scholarships, if you will, to get people the services they may need and the advocacy they need.
That's great.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
so happy.
wonderful.
I was not familiar with the art,
Yes.
but this is why I love doing this show.
Right.
Because
I
it
know.
helps me to find resources.
Absolutely.
And word of mouth is huge.
Huge, yes.
And so this is great. And a lot of our parents and families don't go on the computer to research these things.
Right.
So that's like the essence of what we're trying to do.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, of course.
Yeah, so Amy, you're here as you're the manager of Washington Park Community Library.
I am, yeah. And I learned a lot today as well, so this was also really useful. I knew
Yeah.
ARC existed, but I didn't know the depth of your program,
Yes.
so that was really good. And speaking of people not going on the computers, a lot of times they come to the library and they ask us questions, and we help them.
Yes.
So I'm here representing the Community Libraries of Providence as a whole. We have tons and tons of resources and help for people. That's all for free. So, I mean, and a lot of times we'll get, the schools will reach out to us, families will reach out to us because their kids really need help to catch up. And they're just not getting that help from school because of short staffing, the time of the school day, et cetera. So we do daily homework help every day after school that's at 4 of our locations: my library, Washington Park, Mount Pleasant, and Olneyville and South Providence libraries do bilingual help.
Oh, great.
So yes, and my library also, we're very lucky. We partnered with the foster grandparent program through the Federal Hill House, and we have a lovely foster grandparent that has been with us forever. Her name is Miss Carol, and she reads with the kids. So they read one-on-one, and and most of the kids are in every day doing that with her, and they really look up to her. So we're really trying to get the kids' reading levels boosted up. So my children's librarian, Kevin, or myself will assess where we think the kids are, and then give a book to Miss Carol, and she'll work with them, and she'll give us feedback as to whether they think the book is too hard or too easy, and we'll move up to a different level or down a level so they can really work on getting up to where they need to be.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah. So there's a lot of that help going on. And most of our staff have a background in youth services, like myself. My children's librarian used to be a teacher. Like everyone, we're in the field, so we know. Like I always tell people who say I would make an excellent teacher, I say, well, I kind of am, but I'm not in the restraints of a school system. I'm in the library where I can teach and do my own thing and really help these kids where they need help.
Right. Yeah, and I can imagine it's a huge benefit for families, parents coming in with their children and having you tell them, oh, I can see that they're struggling with this or with math. You know, there's like a huge emphasis on reading and math.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Yes.
Those are the two requests we get all the time for help.
Right. And it's changed. I mean, I grew up in the Providence public school system, and it's changed.
Yes.
So even families need that help. So can adults come into the library and sit while their children are being...
We try to encourage the parents to stick around if they want to. A lot of times the drop-off scenario happens, where they come back when we close to pick up the kids. But that communication's huge. So if the parent is there, even whether they're staying or whether they're picking up, we'd like to have that conversation with them what their kid needs help on, because really that has to be taking place at home too. Like you should always be reading to your kids or working with math. And yeah, the Common Core is the new way to do things. So we're all learning.
Yes.
Me and my children's librarian as well.
Yeah.
But I personally, I'm of the not normal variety of parenting. I think the Common Core is easier because I struggled with math as a kid, and I think the way they're doing it now leaves it more open to a lot of different learning styles.
Yeah.
So I kind of like learning that method and wished I learned it as a kid because I feel like it would have been easier for me. But
Yeah. And I can imagine the support you give families will help them feel stronger if they do need to address the school.
yes. Yes, and we are that bridge as well. We're very well connected with the schools around our libraries that refer either families to us, or if they're having struggles with the school, we can always connect with them because like I remain in contact with most of the teachers, administration, counselors at the school, and we've referred people to different, and I think having that direct connection helps a lot sometimes because sometimes parents don't know who to talk to. Like they could talk to their kid's teacher, but they're one out of 25, 30 kids, you know, it's a
Right.
lot. So if we can connect them directly with a social worker at the school or a counselor or, you know, someone that they really need to connect with, we can do that.
Yeah, that's great. And I can almost see this being like an initial step before we go to the ARC. It's like they've been coming to the library,
Right.
getting support in math or whatever subject it is, and the parents see something still's not right.
Absolutely.
So now,
Yeah.
having connected with the ARC, we could say, talk
Yeah.
to, Jessica at
Yes.
the ARC.
Yes,
And-
exactly, yeah.
And that's what we like to do on this show and to support families, help them to navigate, because the road of fostering and adoption, in addition to educational challenges, has other challenges going on. So at the library, you said there's another librarian, Mr. Kevin, and he works directly with the children as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he does most of the youth services. I'm an aide to him if he's feeling overwhelmed because sometimes he'll have, like last Tuesday, he had a whole homework table going on and he was helping all the kids doing different
Nice.
math problems, and they're all different grade levels. So that can be a lot. So sometimes I'll jump in and help with different subjects as well. And then we also have Miss Carol there. And we've been seeing obviously a huge increase in this need since the pandemic. And even during the pandemic when the kids were doing hybrid learning or virtual learning, I mean, we did a lot at that point too, because a lot of the kids in South Providence didn't have reliable access to internet. So they were coming to the library using our Wi-Fi there. We got the Wi-Fi extended so it covers like the block radius around the library, so that hits some of the houses too.
Okay.
And then just walking parents through how to use Google Classroom, like all these different things. Like
Right.
that was a huge struggle. And it still kind of is because I feel like kids have moved in that direction. They don't really get worksheets anymore. Everything's on Google Classroom or a variety of these different
Right.
services.
So do most of the community libraries have more than one adult there that they can help?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's always at least one children's or youth services person working, and then some of the larger locations have two.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
And you said you offer some bilingual services?
Yes, so the South Providence Library and the Olneyville Library, they have multiple people on staff that speak Spanish. So they do
great.
a lot of bilingual reading help and other services. A lot of times we find that it's not necessarily the kids that need help, it's the parents,
Right.
because they don't speak English.
Right.
And then we're helping translate, and but it's again, it's that nice bridge. We got a grant, let's say COVID time, I think it was a couple of years ago, where we bought more bilingual books that had children's books that was English and Spanish. So
Oh,
we
great.
share a lot of those with families so they can read and learn with their children at the same time.
Right. And you was talking about the bridge in supporting adults who have language barriers. I know there's another resource, the Sherlock Center, where they will step in on behalf of a parent that's not understanding
Yeah.
how to advocate for their children. So that's also
great, yeah.
another resource. And then we have the Rhode Island Parent Information Networks. We know it as RIPEN.
Yep.
where they offer similar resources as the ARC,
Yes.
Advocacy, and they also have a legislative part, and I know the ARC does too.
Yes.
And
Yes, we do.
Can you talk to us about that part?
Yeah, so I'll talk about currently what we're working on and actually what our rally is for tomorrow, which I know this won't be airing till after. But so we are working on the Ombudsman bill in Rhode Island right now. And basically what that is a mandatory auditor. So it works very similarly to the Office of the Child Advocate, which is DCYF. And it basically takes out all of the red tape. And this is a one person that doesn't work for anybody. It's an independent watchdog office, which can bring, parents can report to them, teachers can report to them, a janitor that sees something that they don't like is going wrong, that they can report to them too without any sense of retribution, and the ombudsman would open up a case. So we're hoping that hearing will come about maybe in the next few weeks before the legislators break for summer. So that's what we're working on now in our legislative side of things.
Oh, and it's all through educational advocacy.
Yes, exactly.
bill.
So it's all special education and just all throughout the school system. This would be just an independent auditor, basically.
Right. And that's great, because a lot of
Yes.
times we hear from families who do feel like things are just not right,
Right.
but they don't have any recourse. There's no one to
Right.
speak to.
Exactly.
And they do fear consequences.
Absolutely.
And oftentimes they have to go talk to the school. And that's hard, to go to the school who you want services from,
Right.
to then say, but you're not doing something correct.
Yes.
That's very hard
Yes.
to do
Yes.
that. So this is a great thing where families, and I just want our families to understand,
Yes.
if you feel like something is not right, you can, is it calling or going online?
So I'm not exactly sure of the semantics of it because we're still working that out in the bill, but I'm assuming it would be an anonymous call center, because I know online gets a little dicey with you're a little
tracking.
afraid that people can actually get your information. So it would be probably a call into this office. And so we're hoping that gets passed and that families will have this additional resource. They feel like they've reached the end of their rope and things, like I said, hiring a lawyer is expensive and people don't have the funds for
Right.
that a lot of the time. So, and a lot of times, the recourse doesn't happen all the time when these school districts, or even going to court, can take years, and their kids aged out. So
Right.
where
Now
do you
what?
where do
Now
you
what?
go after that? So that's what the ombudsman will do. Is I like to explain it as an auditor for the Rhode Island school department.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And even if families, when they see this, couldn't make the rally, you could still look into
Yep.
this bill to support it.
Absolutely. You can still offer your testimony at the hearing that's hopefully coming up in a few weeks. Offer your experience. And you can find all of that on our various social medias and things like that, because we're always pushing to get parents to come and tell their story.
That's great.
So that's what matters.
That is great. Yeah, and part of what we're trying to do is share our personal stories with families, because it's often said by families that they don't feel heard in this process of fostering and adopting. So we want to make sure we open up avenues that they feel have been blocked for them, to where they can feel like they're being heard in
Yes.
every aspect. So with this bill, hopefully,
Hopefully, fingers crossed.
this is an avenue they feel like I'm being heard. And it's like almost like one less thing that they feel like
Yes.
they have on their plate,
Right. Yeah.
you because
It's suffocating at times.
it is.
Yeah.
And we have children that come live with us that their suitcases are filled with a lot of things. So if anything we could do to help families
Yes.
is useful. And
Absolutely.
part of this show is also to recruit more families. So the more we can share resources and the more we can talk about experiences
Yeah.
and give people the light at the end of the tunnel,
Right.
we hope more families will come forward and want to take children into their home. And we need to know about there's help out there.
Yes.
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 There's help out there. I really want to thank you all so much.
Thank you.
This was great information.
So wonderful.
And I'm glad you all were able to connect because
know.
now
This is great.
you have something
So
you could tell
exciting.
It's always
families.
good to refer people. Like I really enjoy, lately we've had a lot of new families walk in, and it's just, they say it's like a safe environment after the pandemic, and because there's still restrictions in some schools. You still can't go into some schools, and well, as outside people, not students.
Right.
So it's nice to really promote that we're a community and they can talk to us. Like we're their trusted librarians.
Yes, yes. And we do a segment at the end of the show called Word of Mouth.
Okay.
And we offer another resource to families that we didn't speak about per se, but the Rhode Island Department of Education website, RIDE, has a guide that you families can go and print off, and it's like what you deserve if your child has an IEP or needs an IEP, to understand what does that mean. And an IEP is an individual education plan. And if you feel like you're seeing something that's not right with your child and how they're learning or not learning, you could print off this guide, and it can help you to know what steps you need to take. So
That's great.
yeah, and maybe we can print some of these guides out and put them in the community libraries.
We're on the same wavelength, Rachel. I was already like, oh, I gotta go there, do that later.
So you can definitely go to your community libraries throughout the state and look for this guide and ask your librarian, express to them ways you need help with education for yourself and for your children. And it's not anything to feel ashamed about.
No.
Again, our families are dealing with a lot.
And we love our families at the
We
library.
do love our
I
families.
might not know all the answers, but I can certainly find them.
Yes.
Here we
I
go.
love that.
Yes,
I love
yes.
that.
We love our families, and there is no shame and no consequence for you going to these resources and asking for help.
Yes.
You're there to parent and support your children, and that's what you're doing when you're asking for help. So please ask for help. It's okay. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
And thank you all for watching. This is It Takes a Village, and thank you very much.